Hi, it's Billy from Sweet Darling, and today I'm going to show you how to make a mini edible toad from Mario. There is a blog post below through to written instructions and photos if you need to see those after you send the video. Just a note to say, I have a free ebook available at the moment up until Halloween. It is how to make pumpkin spice individual pumpkin cakes. So they're little mini actual pumpkins, like orange pumpkins with stems, and they're pumpkin spice cake inside with cinnamon buttercream, and oh my god, they are insane. And that I've written up as a free ebook for you for when you subscribe to my newsletter. My newsletter is only ever my tutorials and recipes that get sent out. I don't spam, so if you would like those and you would like the free ebook, click the link below that says to sign up to the newsletter, fill your email address in, and then you will get the ebook straight into your inbox in plenty of time for Halloween. Now, because these little toads are so small, I've used flour paste to model them with. Normally I don't use flour paste for modelling, I use modelling paste or modelling chocolate. But because they are so diddy, flour paste was fine to use. So the first thing I need to do is to make some little brown shoes. So I've got brown flour paste, I'm rolling it into 2 balls and then narrowing at one end by rolling my finger on one end into a point which will be the back of the shoe, and then pressing down a little bit so there's a space for the bottom half of the body to go. Now I'm inserting cocktail sticks for support here, so they will push through the shoes, and then the rest of the body and the head and everything will be pushed onto those cocktail sticks. And I'm using a polystyrene dummy so it keeps everything, I can stand everything on it and I can move it around easily without having to disturb the actual model. Once the shoes are done, I need a semi-sphere or half a ball of white paste for the bottom of the body. For that I roll the ball, flatten it down with my hands, and then pinch around the edges to sharpen that. You can paint a little bit of water on the shoes if you need it to stick, but you can push it over the cocktail sticks and sit it on the top of the shoes. Next bit is the top half of the body, so you need a flesh colour paste. To make that I use paprika stroke flesh sugar fir paste colour, and it's the same shape as the bottom half of the body, so that white half sphere I'm doing the same for the top but in flesh colour, and again pinching it round and then pushing it over the cocktail stick to stick it to the white bottom half. Now for the jacket you need a strip of yellow and a strip of blue. This will just be a case of measuring it against your size model to make sure it's the right size, because obviously it depends exactly what height and width yours is depending on how big that jacket's going to have to be. With mine I cut out my blue and measured it and made sure it was about the right size to go round, then I laid it on top of my yellow and just cut a fraction bigger around the side of the blue so the yellow was showing, so it had a yellow frame around the blue. You can then use a little bit of water to stick these together and then add some water either onto the back of that bit of paste or around the body, and then wrap the jacket around. Just make sure you've wrapped it all round dry before you go and add water. Now next bit is the arms. So for the arms again you need flesh colour paste. You want to roll them into a sausage and then cut 2 sections that are about the right size for the body. You can roll at the sort of near the bottom, near one end, roll it so that it narrows the paste a little bit into what would be a wrist, and then anything below that you can flatten a bit to make a hand, and then back at the other end of the sausage, if you squish it, it will make the shoulder part. So I've kept this arm really simple, it's a little character, but you can add some finger detail if you want to. You can just use a scalpel or a small palette knife just to indent some finger marks into the hand. You need to make 2 arms roughly the same, and then use a little bit of water on the flattened shoulder sections and press those down where his shoulders would be. And here, just take a look at everything. If his arms sort of out like this, you might just need to fold them down a bit, squish them in. They might be a bit back like that. They just might be slightly awkward positions. So just have a look at it and decide what you want to do. You might want his hands up a bit. You might want them down completely. You might want one arm forward, one arm up doing something. If you want an arm up, you need to put a cocktail stick through it to start with, and then push the cocktail stick into the body, and then his arm will stay up in the air. For the head, you need a ball of flesh colour paste, and it almost wants to be flattened slightly. It's kind of a squarish round head. It's not completely round, it's not a complete ball, so roll it and then sort of flatten it a bit at the top and bottom and a little bit at the sides, and then you can push that onto the cocktail stick. Depending on the size of your character, you can either use a piping nozzle, the larger end of a piping nozzle for the smile, or you can use a smile tool and just push that in if it needs to be a small smile. And then the eyes just need to be 2 very small balls of black flour paste rolled into the teeniest sausages, stuck on, and then 2 of the minutest white dots as highlights. So tiny white balls of flour paste, if you think it's small enough, cut it in half, make it even smaller, tiny, 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 and then you can add your highlights towards the top of the black sections for the eyes. You need a rather large ball of paste, which you are going to roll into a ball, flatten it a bit, so you've got sort of a flat base to it, and then pinch around like we did with the bottom and the top of the bodies. And then I've used my thumb to work around into the middle of that paste, so there's a well inside, which is actually going to sit on the head. And you want this to be mushroom shaped, so it doesn't want to be completely round, you want it almost flattened a little bit and then curved out, so you might need to keep looking at it and tweaking the shape and the size of it. It also needs to be larger than the actual head, it wants to come out like a mushroom would. Just keep checking it against your model. When you're happy, you can use a little bit of water, sit it on Toad's head, and again just give it a bit of a squish, tweak it a little bit if you need to when it's on there. You can then add your red circles, so you can roll out some red flour paste and use a circle cutter of any size, whichever suits you best, to stick some circles around the top of Toad's head. Depending on the size of your character, you might need another cocktail stick that comes through the body and then supports the head. If that's the case, if your character's getting a little bit too big, just put in another cocktail stick and then you can slot the head and the Toad hat, mushroom hat onto that. Mushroom hat onto that. Once your character is made, you want to give it some drying time, so ideally at least overnight, but to be honest, if it's flour paste especially, it's going to dry pretty quickly, a couple of hours I would say. Now you can see from these two that basically my situation here was I had to make a little toad to go on top of a wedding cake. So there's going to be Mario and the, what's the woman's name? What's the princess's name? Can't remember. Anyway, Mario and the princess, and then a little toad to represent their little baby. But I ended up making Toad bigger than, well, same size as Mario, which would look mental. So I had to remake Tiny Toad. And that's so cute. So anyway, the point of that is that this principle works for whatever size you're doing. So if you're doing Tiny Toad, Little Toad, Medium Toad, Big Toad. So that's how to make a mini edible toad from Mario. Don't forget there's a blog post below through to written instructions and photos if you would like to see them. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a big thumbs up and click that subscribe button. There'll be brand new videos every single Monday.